arrives, the BR version, which is 45157 Glasgow Highlander. So this is Hornby's new Black 5. And it looks really nice. So I think I've had 5 of the old Black 5s at various points, all of which I've just sold on. They're a decent model, but this is definitely a step up. I saw a side-by-side between this new model and the old one, like 2 pictures of the front end in one of the magazines. I'll put that up on the screen, but you can see what a difference the front end of this has compared to the old one. It's definitely an upgrade, there's no doubt about that. I think on the previous model the front end was like a few millimeters too high, whereas that's kind of been sorted on this one. Just checking that running plate, that looks straight. Yeah, it just looks great. I can't wait to kind of mess with this and get the detail pack on there. So, but first, before I do that, I need to test the damn thing, because I know on the LMS version a few people had problems with the loco to tender connection. More on that later. But I'm going to give this a thorough test. I've literally just put it on the track, so we'll see how we get on with it. Right, first movement. Let's get it in forwards first. It's working okay. Working okay and backwards too. So where the people had issues with the LMS version was it getting round curves with the new tender connection. But that's it going across my points, no problem. Right, moment of truth. We'll put it through the tunnel and see what happens. See whether it comes out the other side into the storage yard or not. Ooh, can still hear it. Can still hear it. Hey, there we go, coming out into the storage yard. So yeah, that seems to be going around my third radius curves, absolutely no problem. So it looks like I've got a good, and you can see the lamps on there. Okay, cool. Right, I'll get this on the rolling road in a minute and run it in, but we'll just finish taking a look at it. See what the crawl's like. It's a bit jumpy at slow speeds, but this is literally just coming out of the box. So I would expect that to improve a bit. We will see. But anyway, I'll just give you a good look at this. So let's start at the front end. So this has got these new lamps. I'm not sold on these. I'm going to whip them off, fit the lamp irons. I might even take the body off and actually just disconnect the light completely so I don't get any bleed through from where you put the lamp irons in. Or maybe I'll just use black tack, I'm not sure. You can improve the look of these massively. Like, can you see that Hornby have modelled the actual lamp bracket itself on the bottom of the lamp there? Yeah, it's painted white, and that makes the lamp look even more oversized than what it is. You can paint that black, then use like a black wash on the lamp to tone it down. I've seen a couple of people do that on the RM web thread for these, and that looks miles better. And then you can put like a brown wash over the lens, and that tones the brightness of the lamps down as well. I'm sure some people will like the lamps, but they're just not for me personally. Just a bit too chunky, and I like to run this on all types of different changes. I'm always changing the head code, but these are too it's too tricky and too fiddly to change the head code on these. So it's nice that Hornby are thinking outside the box, but I just don't think the execution was quite there on these. But yeah, fair play to them for having an attempt. There is spare lamp irons included in the detail pack, so I'll have a go at changing those a little bit later, and I'll show that on this video too. If I run this forward a bit, there is also a lamp on the back. It's lit up. My lights analog, so it's only on kind of when I'm running. Yeah, it's on in reverse as well. I think I'll ditch that, to be honest. I think I'll get rid of both of them. I don't think they include a spare lamp iron to go on the back, so I'll just have to make one out of brass strip or whatever. It shouldn't be too difficult though. Right, let's move along the locomotive a bit. So one of the issues with the previous one is that you could just see like the frames weren't quite right, so you could kind of see loads of daylight through the front. That's been sorted on this one now. You could fix it on the old one using the Brass Masters kit, or in my case I just cut out a bit of plastic card in roughly the right shape and stuck that under, and that worked too. But this is miles better. I think they're kind of turn metal, which is nice. I've noticed on this that they've got the I spoke about this in another video where Hornby often get the, or previously used to get the valve gear wrong, so they'd have like inside emission locomotives up for outside emission and outside's up for inside. With this on both sides, they've got it correct. So sometimes they'd have that crank pin in the wrong place, so it's kind of being pushed in front of the connecting rod, whereas on a Black 5, on the vast majority of, well, I think all standing locomotives, it would be behind it. Loads of manufacturers still get that wrong, bizarrely. Like they announced the USA S160 today, and I noticed they've got that wrong on the cab designs. They've got that wrong on one side as well, so I don't know whether they'll correct that on that new locomotive that's just been announced too. But Hornby have nailed it on this. They've got it right on the 9F, they've got it right on the 2MT, so I think they've sussed that now. So moving along, the tender connection. I understand why they've used this, because there's so many wires in this for the provision for the smoke generator. The lights on the rear, the lights on the front. So there's more wires, I think, that would usually be able to fit in the traditional plug thing they use. So they've switched to this. I've got no problem with that. But why is the gap between the locomotive and the tender so big? It's meant to be a close coupling mechanism, but it's not. I mean, someone's measured this. I think it's 6mm, which is the wider setting on the old Black 5. I don't really know what they were thinking here. I don't know why that's so big. I'll show my 2MT in a second, which was, you know, a previous Hornby release that came out in the last year, I think, or the end of last year. And I've got that on the close coupled setting, and it looks virtually like it's a scale length coupling. The tender is right up against the locomotive, and I can still get it around third radius curves. This has got a huge gap. Really weird they designed it like that. I don't know why there isn't a setting to adjust it. Given that my layout's DCC and I'm not bothered about I'm going to remove all the lights, all that kind of stuff anyway. I don't want a smoke generator, blah blah blah. I might hardwire the tender to the locomotive and hackle the drawbar off. I'm not going to do that for a while. I'm just going to see how I get on with it. But I might have a go at yeah, just chopping that off and going back to the old one, because it's too big a gap. Like, it's just that I don't know what they were thinking with that really, but yeah, I like the actual connector itself. Surely you can do a better job at close coupling that, like all the other kind of rival manufacturers are, like a Curascale. But in terms of capturing the presence and the character of the Black 5, this just nails it. I'm really I'm pleased with it. Despite the lamps aren't a problem. You can just take them off. It's not really that bad. It's just the only niggle is the tender connection, really, in my opinion. But maybe we'll figure out some way to do that. I mean, you could even add, if there was some way to model a tarpaulin, which a lot of the Black 5s sometimes have, between the cab and the tender. I mean, that would kind of close that gap, and then you could extend the cab floor off the tender. That kind of gives the illusion that the gap's closed, even if it's not. So a few things to try there. Right. Yeah, it's looking cool. I'm impressed with it. Right, I'm going to get this on the rolling road. Just give it a blast in each direction, and I'll let you have a look at it when it's on there. the cogging has reduced significantly, and I've run it in for 10 minutes in forwards only, so it's definitely smoother though. Right, I've given this a good run in now. The performance, especially this low speed, has improved quite dramatically. And I've thoroughly tested it stuff around corners, so I'm happy enough with this now that I can stick some of the details on. You need to unscrew this little screw here, and then in the detail pack you get an NEM socket here and a tiny little screw, and I'm guessing that that just goes over the top of this axle like that. No, it's not. I think it's just, that's weird. So I screwed the screw and it just snapped in half. So half of it is just left, it's just stuck in there now. I don't know whether you can see that. That was weird. Oh well, nothing a bit of super glue can't fix. Hopefully this screw doesn't also just snap in half. No, that's fine, that's in there nice and tight. Kind of design, it's a fairly delicate model. You have to kind of rip them off the loco. Boom, there we go. Okay, so the smoke box is magnetic. That's interesting. Yeah, it's a really bad. They're not removable. They're not changeable. They are stuck on. Right, there we go. That one's off too. Right, so that's how this looks after I've removed them. So there's quite a big hole there with loads of glue around it where they've just glued the lamp on. And then on the front, there's kind of like a hole with a bit of plastic around it. I'm just going to gently kind of file that down. Yeah, unless you're a fairly confident modeler like it says in the instructions, I'd be a bit reluctant to start messing around with these. Yeah, really weird choice of design, I think, by Hornby. I'm just not convinced by this. So there is a little plug here that plugs into the smoke box door to activate the lights. I've unplugged this one here. I can always just plug it back in if I need to. I'm just going to tuck it back inside the smoke box. I'm hoping that should just turn off the light. Ah, that's so weird. So that's almost like black tack on the smoke box here. I don't know whether this is picking up or not. I'm just kind of rubbing this and there's just kind of like gunk coming off. What a weird design. Just one more thing I quickly figured out. You don't have to be messing around with the black tack to stop the lamp bleed. Basically, on the back of the smoke box door, in the middle, can you see there's a crosshead screw? That attaches the light. You unscrew that, screw it back in, and then just tuck the light down in there, and that'll get rid of the light bleed. Just make sure it's tucked in enough so that it's not shown through. Right, and then I'm just going to try and stop any light bleed from coming through on this bottom one. I'm just going to put a little bit of blue tack in there and then just paint it black, because I've not got any black tack to hand. There we go, that's filled that hole quite nicely, and I've unplugged the top one, so that should, maybe that would have actually stopped the bottom one as well, I don't really know. I think I've got both the lamp irons on and they look straight and they look fine. So yeah, I thought it was going to be easier than that, to be honest. So they're not movable in the sense that you can just switch them over between running sessions. That's definitely not the case. I've just got a little bit of Humbrol black acrylic. I'm just going to dab that onto the front. There we go. Lamp irons fitted. Can get some Model U lights on these now. So it is doable, just a bit of fiddly. Okay. Just need to paint it black. Right, that's the finished article back on the track. So, in summary, the lights are a bit fiddly to remove, but it is doable. So I've got my Model U lamp on there now, which is a bit more to scale, and I can easily just pop that off, and then use the little hole at the bottom to put it onto any of the other lamp brackets as I see fit. I've made a start on glossing the boiler, getting ready for it to be weathered in the same kind of style as I have with my 2MT over there. So yeah, overall, other than one or two minor niggles with the lamp and that gap being a little bit too big, it's still an absolutely outstanding model. Runs really well, looks awesome. I'm so pleased that they've chosen this to retool. So I would absolutely recommend one of these if you do want one of the upgraded versions. So I'll just leave you with a few shots of it running, but otherwise I'll be back soon to show you how I weather this up. So as always, thanks for watching guys, appreciate it.